So we'll move on, Carl, to, and I should
Okay.
stop calling it segment 3, but we'll move on to segment 3, or
Yeah.
our unique segments of the week, let's say, because this one differs every time. So this week, as mentioned, we're going to be talking about the most memorable, in our opinion, entrance themes from this. I haven't actually tagged a specific era to it. Most of mine will be Attitude or onwards. But this, for me, I got thinking about it because when we're watching Royal Rumble, Carl, when we decided to make this podcast,
Yeah.
we had a particular music hit on the Rumble and marked out of fuck. And that, of course, was Edge. So straight away, Edge is going to get an honourable mention. I don't know if he's in. I haven't actually done it as a 5 for 5, Carl. I think we just sort of one them if you're all right with that. But yeah, so it got me thinking about it because of that, because it's like Edge's music at this point, and I know obviously it's hard to sort of specifically say, Edge is the third iteration of his theme. You can't really go into all that, but I'm talking about the Metalingus, that theme, that one, the Rated R Superstar, the one when Edge was at his biggest. At no point will that ever sort of not hit. Every time that music hits, we're going to mark out. And for me, that's what this list is going to be about, is what other superstars or what other superstar theme musics, the minute they hit, will you be like, yes, this is awesome. And they're that iconic for that reason. So I'll kick it off with a quick call. And I'll kick it off with none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And again, I'm not trying to go into iterations. For me, every time that glass shatters, straight away. Doesn't matter whether they go into that weird one that they had with lyrics in it for a while. I prefer the proper Steve Austin music, but anytime you hear the glass break and it's going to be him, awesome, mark out moment. And for me, that's right up there as far as theme musics go. Is it something I'm going to sit and listen to on my iPod? Well, probably actually, but never mind. So I'll kick things off with Austin, Carl. What would you like your first one to be?
So I will see your Austin, and I will raise you an Undertaker, and similar reasons really to the ones you've mentioned. So, Austin, you hear that glass shatter, and straight away, just that noise, you kind of like, oh, shit, it's Austin, and from one little noise of a glass shattering, straight away you're pumped. And it's the same for Taker with that gong, isn't it? Like, it could be anywhere, you just hear a gong and the lights go off. Like, nothing gives you chills more than that. And obviously the music itself is kick-ass, and it's like scary Taker stuff, and but for me it has to be like the old school dead man, like gong Taker, as opposed to, I don't know whether you feel differently about this, because obviously you were first introduced to the guy.
This is the thing, right? But I think that's what almost helps it for me, because like when I was into it, it was I think when I first started watching wrestling, he was having Kid Rock at the time, American Badass Kid Rock music. Then it moved over to Rolling because of the Limp Bizkit thing. So Limp Bizkit, I think, was massively into, or Fred Durst was massively into WWE, so he'd done the theme for a while. And then we got that Jim Johnson track, You've Done It Now, which was awesome, right? And I always loved that one as well. But these were all the American Badass, and it was like, they were good, and you knew it was Taker. But when Kane and him had the Buried Alive match, and he buried Kane, no, he didn't. The other way around, Kane buried him. And then we had that absence for a while, and he come back as the dead man, Carl. Check it. And again, you got that gong, and the lights went out. It is like, it's goosebumps kind of thing, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, it's awesome. You can't get any better than that, and he should never have another theme. I know during his run, obviously when they went right back to the Undertaker gimmick, the proper Undertaker gimmick, he sort of toyed around. He done Ain't No Grave by Johnny
Cash.
And it was okay, but you can never beat the proper Undertaker theme. And even I'm saying that, and I wasn't there for the original Undertaker run.
And I think as well, obviously, as the Undertaker, like the dead man as well, he also had the Ministry music for a bit, which
I've overlooked that one, but
just didn't have the same feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, it is that like there's that is the only kind of music that's ever really, like, the others kind of give me like an adrenaline rush and jump up, but like I've never really had goosebumps, you know what I mean,
Like you've got
Unless it's
the
like
you got
Undertaker.
the creepy girls, right? Do you remember the creepy girls
I do
doing the
remember them.
prayer? Or you've got
Yeah.
the gong, and the gong, like it's so simple, but that is much more
Do you know
iconic and
what though?
much
To
more like
saying that though, those creepy girls, because like I mentioned with the stuff with the hacker or whatever, where you're trying to figure it out. For me, there was these vignettes for ages around these creepy girls, like all evil. So when that came on Judgment Day, I was fucking hyped to fuck because I was like, what is this? What is this? And then obviously that's when we got to see the birth of the American Badass Taker.
and it
But
was
yeah,
that like they subverted his expectations as well because it like the creepy girls they were doing that prayer and they're saying he's now back from the dead and you're like even when you think it's gonna be Undertaker you did not expect him to sort of up
no,
with his
just the way like
Kid
for
Rock theme
me,
music and his bike and stuff and you're like
yeah.
what
Like the way they transition from that creepy girl thing to like and then he just comes down like
yeah
holy shit. So yeah, but yeah, for me, old school Taker music,
yeah
the gong.
I would agree I would totally agree I don't think he's ever willed or ever had a better theme than that. So my next one, Carl, is I don't even think anyone would disagree with this. Is the owner of the entire WWE. The minute you know you've got no chance in hell, his boss, absolutely
That-
fantastic. It so buys into the character of Vince McMahon. It's a brilliant theme music, and that sort of that beginning riff straight away, you know it's him. And it's just, again another thing where it's like the minute that hits you, like yes, this is going to be good because especially now because he doesn't turn up for anything unless it's like particularly important, I suppose. Or Triple H has been around for 25 years or whatever. But I don't think you can beat McMahon's music. I think it sums up a character so well as well.
yeah. No, I think it's definitely a classic, isn't it? I think whether or not he's playing a good guy or a bad guy, if he's playing a good guy, then you're excited because you're like, oh, he's gonna lay the fucking smack down on someone and make him do something. Whereas if he's playing a bad guy, it kind of creates that reaction of like, oh fucking hell, here comes Vince. You know what I mean? And you kind of like, it's such a fitting music for like that boss character.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it
it's
just
one of
goes
those
so well with his
iconic.
power walk and everything. It's fantastic. You just can't beat it.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
And do you remember
I,
that weird variant they did when I think it was Corporate Ministry, and they made like a version of his theme music that was somewhat different. Do you remember that?
maybe vaguely. I can't really get it to the top of my head or anything.
I'm gonna have to try and find that and send it to you now. It's just like a strange version of it. It's still the same lyrics, but like the way they'd sort of, I think they made it a little bit more creepy, a little bit more rocky. I suppose it's quite rocky anyway. I don't know, but I'll have to find it and send it to you. But they did do a couple of variations of it, but again, classic McMahon theme. It's been unchanged for many a year, and rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next one on the list for me is 3 words. Are you ready? Followed by a
Yeah,
boom boom straight away. Like yeah, you've got to mark out when you hear that.
yeah. Couldn't agree more. And you are a child of this era, so I think it's only right that you mentioned this one because yeah, I was sort of again I was around for some of it. I've certainly been around for all the times they've reunioned, which is basically just Shawn and Triple H at this point. But even so, it's awesome music. Everyone loves a bit of Rage Against the Machine,
Oh
but
yeah, for
even
me,
the way it fucks with the screen, awesome.
yeah, it's one of them. Like you hear that and straight away you're marked out. I remember a little 10-year-old me in me Suck It DX jersey that was like three
Oh, you
times
had
too
the
big for me because it didn't make it in child size.
you had the
Um,
American football jersey, didn't you? Have you still got
yeah,
that?
absolutely. I don't think I do. I wish I did.
Ah,
That'd be like
that's such
a
a shame.
collector's item. But yeah, I remember just like I think I had it was on like the WWF the Music Volume 3 or something.
Well,
I used to
that
have
is very specific.
my little CD player, and I used to remember like putting it on and doing the whole kind of like the whole thing. But yeah, it's one of those themes that every time if that happened some like on Raw, for example, like even though it's Shawn Michaels and Triple H of today, I'd still mark the fuck out over it because it's DX. Like they were
Yeah,
they were the ones that you would be like, holy shit, they're going to do something hilarious or they're going to do something like outlandish. And Yeah, it's one of those themes where it goes on for a bit. Like you have the three words get you hyped and you're waiting for ages, but then as soon as it goes, like break it down, like you just want to fucking
Yeah.
headbang your way through it. Like so, yeah, love it.
Oh yeah, it is awesome. And while we're on that, I think it's only fair to mention when Triple H came out of his Rage Against the Machine phase, he got what I personally think was the best and the Triple H music, and it was the Motorhead one. It's time to play the game. That again starts in a similar way. It's time to play the game, and straight away you're like, yes, this is going to be awesome. I specifically remember when he returned, and weirdly, this was around the time I started watching wrestling, so I didn't have a comprehension of how long he'd been out. But obviously, you did. This was after was it his quads he torn? He had to have surgery. It was quite a bit, and he come back, and he just for me, I'd not known him before this. I'd heard of him, but I'd not known this was me watching wrestling. And this guy, this badass, comes out with this music, rocks up to the ring, does that whole Triple H thing that he does when he spits the water. He's there with his biker jacket on and all that, and you just mark out, even not knowing who he is. You're like, this is going to be awesome. And for me, I don't know how you feel because you've obviously known Triple H, the X era and all that side of things. So I don't know whether you might prefer the was it called My Time? Is one before that, the Rage Against the Machine one. But personally, for me, I don't think you can beat the Motorhead. I'm not talking King of Kings because I don't think he should have ever changed that. It's cool, but I'll call it Time to Play the Game. But his original Motorhead music, I think that's Triple H. That's the iconic one for me.
Yeah, for me, like that one is like that is Triple H. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think Triple H, since his DX days, has ever had a bad entrance music. So
no, to be fair.
My Time was fantastic. Like I love that. It felt very DXy, but it felt like it was him on his own. So I feel like that was a good
quite
little
in keeping with his character at the time and the evolution of Triple H and the lyrics obviously tied in the new because it's in the line. It's my time now and stuff like that. It just makes sense for his rise.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
And then I think obviously Motorhead, like as soon as you hear Motorhead, you kind of think of Triple H. Like no one else has got entrance music like that. And the game was obviously that kind of that gimmick of like he is the game, he is this business, he is everything. You've got to try and beat the game if you want to be someone in this business. So that was like, but like King of Kings, I fucking love that as well. Like the whole behold the king, and like
I do like it, but it's I don't know, it's just not Triple H. Do you know what I mean? Like it's cool.
It's not as good as the other one. Even Evolution. The Evolution theme he had as well, was fantastic.
I mean, he loves Motorhead. I remember actually. I apologize because I don't remember the show that it was on, but I remember them speaking to Triple H about his theme music and when he was trying to do his new theme music, and he kept saying to them like something like Motorhead, and they were like, well, should we just get Motorhead? And he didn't realize that was an option. And I think that's awesome. Like he's been a fan of Motorhead. He loved it. I want something with that kind of feel to it. And they were like, well, we'll just get Motorhead, which is fucking awesome. But
that is amazing. That. And I think as well, what's interesting is I know that they had like a wrestling album, or they did something where for a time Triple H had a different music for the game, and it was done by Drowning Pool.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Do you remember it was like time to play the game? And it was just like it just wasn't Motorhead.
It was I didn't like the pacing. As stupid as it sounds, it was a bit too fast paced. Like it almost felt like he should have rushed down to the ring with that one. But don't be wrong, it's cool. And if you like Drowning Pool, you'll like it. But I don't think you're going to beat the Motorhead one. Really don't.
No, and I think like even the riffs, like when he's getting ready on the ropes to like do his water bit, like bing, bing, like it's just it is awesome, and it's such a good song.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, top one. So, Carl, you got the next one.
So the next one, which is ironic because we've just been talking about him on the previous segment, was so CM Punk. So I absolutely fucking hated Through the Fire and Flames, or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah. The song itself, if you're into that kind of music, was actually really quite good. I don't think it actually plays well as a theme music at all.
No, it was awful. It was just fuck that. It wasn't him. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when he was in his Summer of Punk, and he was like, "Well, yeah, I want Cult of Personality." Awesome. That song itself is fantastic, but the fact that he added the static at the beginning, like I so much prefer listening to the CM Punk version of that song than I do the Living Colour original, because that static for me is, again, like all these best music, like all these themes that we're talking about now, have just got that little hook, that little,
I think
whether
that's
it's
what
the
it is.
glass
It's
shattering, the
that
gong.
instant hook, that instant bit that grabs you, and you know
Yeah,
exactly who this is. I think that's what a theme music needs, quite clearly from what
absolutely.
we're listening.
Yeah,
But
and I think like as soon as you hear it, like that song is awesome, but as soon as you hear that, like you're like, oh, it's Punk. So it was that kind of,
yeah,
draws
I
you in. But
remember he debuted this music when they done that whole, he dropped the pipe bomb, as it were, and he left the company, as it were, and I think John Cena had just won the belt back
mm,
after they done a tournament because Punk had gone, and then that hit, and no one even knew what the fuck it was because that
yeah,
wasn't Punk's music, and then he struts out with his belt, and then they both rise in the belt above their head, and even that is just, it's an iconic moment, and
mm,
yeah, you can't, that was a fantastic choice, and to be fair to Punk, I believe he made that choice himself, so yeah, couldn't have been a better shout.
yeah,
I
definitely.
also believe he used it in the UFC, probably with not quite the same impact, but there you go.
Yeah, it didn't have the static in UFC, so it wasn't as good.
WWE
That's how I know
copyrighted
the
the
static
static.
makes it. Maybe. But yeah, it's definitely got to be up there, though.
Yeah, boss shout. So the next one I've got, Carl, I think this deserves a good shout as well for it being a track created by the wrestler itself, and I'm talking about John Cena's second theme. Now, Thugonomics, I have a particular love for because I prefer the heel John Cena. I prefer the basic Thugonomics, all that. Or was it that one? And B squared. Who can forget B squared? But obviously Punk, and I'm willing to acknowledge it. Punk at his peak, at his prime, when everyone loved him, is the music we use now. And I'm trying to think what it's actually called, but the his current theme music is totally iconic with John Cena, and I think
Mhm.
that is that has to be on the list because again, if you recall, when he returned at the Royal Rumble, I want to say 2008, could be wrong there, and that initial bit that I don't even know how you got that before his music actually kicks in. Again,
Yeah,
that another, like, you know exactly who it is the minute it starts, and
yeah.
and it does that, and everyone gets just proper hyped. My time
I
is now, I
still,
think it's called. That, there we
it
go.
is, yeah, yeah.
Now I've
I
done that
still,
little thing.
I still like. I'm baffled by what the whole affa do or whatever the fuck it is that he says.
Well, do you know
Don't
what?
really know what that means.
That's not even, that's not just in John Cena's thing though. I've heard that in other rap songs, so I don't know if it's like whoever affiliated with him when they did it, or I'd still like
Okay.
to know what the fuck it means. But I've heard that in other songs as well, so I don't. Is it a rap thing?
Maybe. Interesting. But yeah, no, I think so. The Cena one is slightly different in the sense it doesn't have a, a particular like one note thing or whatever, but it's so unique that ding, ding, like that you straight away you're like, oh yeah, it's Cena. And I remember when he came in as number 30 in the Royal Rumble as the surprise entrance. You know what I mean? And it was like that music played, and it was like, oh fuck, like, and you did mark out for it because it was
Mm.
like straight away you could tell it's Cena, and
Yeah,
yeah.
and I do think he gets special credit because obviously he sang that as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so
100%.
fair play to him. It's not often you get people doing their own theme music. I know Kurt Angle did for a while. Do you remember that? Do you remember WWE
Yeah.
Originals, Carl? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. 100%. I do.
Kurt Angle's I don't suck. It's fantastic.
I don't suck. Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, so the next one on the list. So this one may be slightly controversial, but
Ooh.
Ric Flair. And again, I don't know. I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but obviously he's got a very classic like. Dun, 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 dun. It's a song that everybody knows, but I think I prefer it with the added woo at the beginning, just because again it's like woo, and you know straight away it's him, and it's like, you know what I mean. It kind of builds it up a little bit more. But I know a lot of people out there hated the woo being added. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts.
I'm actually with you on this one. I've not really bothered about the track itself.
Mm.
Like I get it. I think it's from a movie as well, isn't it? That is it 2001: Space Odyssey?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Apology, I'm digressing a little bit, but the theme music itself is like, yeah, it's iconic. It's got a great build to it, and you know it's Rick, but you know it's Rick a lot sooner when you just hear "woo" straight away. Yeah, you're like, yeah, straight on it. And I prefer it myself. Like anytime he's come back lately, and you just hear that "woo" straight away, you're like, yes, and you know it's going to be something good. As much as I did say the other week, I think he's not as good as he used to be on the mic, but that's just time. I still have a lot of respect for him. I still think he's awesome. So yeah, couldn't agree more. I think the woo should stay. Keep the woo.
Keep the woo.
Actually, take it from Charlotte. Don't let her woo.
Yeah.
Slight digression, but what do you think of Charlotte's theme being a modified version of Rick's?
Yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest.
Because it's not totally the same. Obviously, it's not. It doesn't carry on being Rick's. It does that. Duh, 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 duh. So it is a different theme, but it keeps using notes of Ric Flair. I'm just wondering what you make of that.
I don't mind it. I know, like, obviously, Charlotte does it. Natty kind of does it a little bit with the Heart Foundation stuff. I know, what's his face? Curtis Axel did it a little bit with Mr. Perfect for a while. Like it does make sense, you know what I mean, to kind of follow the tradition on and have it kind of, because it's that whole like nostalgia piece with it, really, isn't it? And it's taking it. And
do you think? And it is a digression from the topic, so I apologize, but I think Charlotte, the exception here when I say this, but it's almost a danger having that reliance. Do you not think? Because like Curtis Axel, as an example, is like, well, yeah. I mean, you're trying to lean on the legacy. Is that because there's nothing there? And it, like, do you know what I mean? Like, look at Randy. Randy's got a legacy there, but as far as I'm aware, he's never sort of leaned heavily into like trying to use the Cowboy Bob Orton's music or anything like that.
no.
And again, as far as I'm aware, Cody has never tried to lean on Dusty's music.
No.
So I'm like, I don't know. Is it better to stand on your own 2 feet, or is it a mark of like, not desperation is probably a bit unfair, but like, I don't know. I worry potentially about the reliance. I've always moaned about Charlotte relying too much on her dad's legacy anyway, and wooing and all this kind of stuff. But she's a big star. Can't really get around that. Can't deny that. But certainly, like Natty was big. She did have a good run with was it the New Heart Foundation or whatever they call themselves and that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You just look at it and go, yeah, you're leaning too heavily into the legacy thing. I don't know. Do you think it is a problem or a danger?
I don't know. I think it depends on like the Curtis Axel one. He was never going to be Mr. Perfect, and I know they tried to do that with his gimmick, but it was a bit of a flop. But I think for Charlotte and Natty, I don't mind it too much. I think it depends on. So obviously, you've got like Ric Flair is an icon, and like Bret Hart is an icon. So it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? I think like that makes sense. And even though Mr. Perfect was an icon, I just don't think Curtis Axel was, or he was enough into that gimmick where it made sense. So I don't know. I don't mind it, but I completely see your point where, a lot of the time it does just make sense to stand and be your own person. But I think when you've got like, you're a Hart or you're a Flair, then, you can kind of see why.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's. I suppose it's a thin line because I could be sat here moaning. It's like, don't even acknowledge that they're related to them. It's ridiculous, So it's a thin line, isn't
You'll
it?
never be happy.
You can't deny that they're part of a big family. So it's not like Cody doesn't mention it every other week.
Well, exactly.
So the next one for me, Carl, while we're talking about the golden oldies, is Hulk Hogan, and I'm gonna go with Hulk Hogan's Real American. I think that is a lot more iconic, a lot more Hogan. I love Voodoo Child. I prefer that to listen to. I prefer that as a theme in that sense. But you can't get around the fact that Hogan should come out to Real American. That is the minute that kicks in, you know it's Hogan, or you know it's Mr. America. One of the two, right? But that, again, another massively iconic theme music. The minute it hits your mark out, he is a legend in the business. Not my particular favourite. I don't have a great deal of love for Hulk Hogan, but I totally get why people love it. And, he was the biggest thing in wrestling for a biggest thing in the world at one point. To be fair to him, and I think that is the theme music for him. I understand the Voodoo Child thing. He was Hollywood Hogan. He come out of the NWO. I didn't really follow him too much in WCW, Carl. So you'd have to enlighten me. Did he use Voodoo Child at any point before returning to WWE?
I think he did use Voodoo Child in WCW, right. Towards the end of his run.
Right. So, but nevertheless, he was either NWO as far as I'm concerned, or should have done the Real American, and that is the iconic music for Hulk Hogan, and deserves a spot on this list.
Yeah, completely agree. It's he is, he was wrestling at one point, do you know what I mean? And he's had that theme synonymous with his career the whole time, and it is another one of those ones that just starts off with like a proper power bar, and straight away you're like, dun, dun, it's Hogan. So yeah, definitely makes the list. And then the last one for me is if you smell what the Rock. Like, yeah, fucking hell. Like,
Yes.
that's another one where I think, the amount of times over like WrestleManias and stuff like that where it's just gone really quiet, and then you've heard it hit and the lights all go on and the fans just go ape shit. There's another one that's similar to Austin, really. I think Austin's obviously probably tops it just from the fact that it's just literally some glass breaking. But, for me, the Rock's theme, you can't not just get electrified, if you will, when it plays, so it's one of them I'll mark out till the end of days whenever I hear that song.
I'm curious to know, right, because to be fair to The Rock, in every iteration of his theme has always had a very similar feel to it. It's always had that essentially the same tune going through it. But I distinctly remember when he come back after his stint in Hollywood, and he come back as the arrogant movie star. They changed his theme only slightly, but they made it a bit more heely. And instead of saying "if you smell" and coming out with that big energy, it done that whole whispered "it's cooking" before it started. Yeah. How do you feel about that theme? Because essentially the theme is roughly the same, but I think the tweaks they made actually made it worse.
Oh yeah, it was definitely worse, and I think it started off with this big it's like a big lull, wasn't it? It was like,
yeah, it was like
panning around all Hollywood and
before
stuff.
He whispered, yeah,
and then it just went like, it's cooking, and it was too slow. And I get why, because he wasn't coming out as Mr. Electricity, he was a heel, so it made perfect sense. But
and it kind of almost made it a bit more pompous. The amount of build-up you had to have before he'd come out was almost like part of the whole heel thing. But no, just curious because roughly even the slight variations of his theme is usually the main bulk of the theme is the same. But like you say, that moment, that first line is the bit that grabs you straight off the bat, much like many of these in this list.
Yeah. So I think we've established to have a killer kick-ass theme that you get hyped for, it's got to have that initial hook from the very start, doesn't it?
Yeah, like ours, really. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that was our top 10. The only other ones where I wanted to just give a little bit of honourable mention, only because I specifically remember marking out to these. So I think Edge, you've already mentioned at the Royal Rumble when he made his return.
I think because that sort of inspired the list, so I kind of robbed that from you, Carl. But that is pretty much where this decision to go through this list come from, because that was a proper mark-out moment for the pair of us at Rumble.
Absolutely. I think for me, there's two more that kind of jumped to mind. So one of them was the return of the Hardys at WrestleMania. So obviously, when you had, the New Day, basically, and there's going to be one more team, like, whoo, whoo, and then it's dead quiet, isn't it? And then you just hear, bang, bang, bang. Like, that was, I did mark out for that. Yeah. And it's like...
And to be fair, you can't beat it. Like, as much as people want, they want Hardy to have No More Words as his theme now, and that was probably more synonymous with with Jeff's solo run. Much like for me, Matt's solo run is "Live for the Moment" by Monster Magnet. You can't get around the fact that the Hardy's theme music, that's the one you associate with them, and that is much more gripping as a memorable theme, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was like the shock factor of it, and just not expecting to ever hear that music again, really, because you were like, okay, they've left, and wasn't it great when we had the Hardys, and it was kind of just to hear that again, you're like, holy shit, it's the Hardys. Like, it flushed, like, it brought back so many kind of memories, like.
Yeah, totally agree.
And then the other one, which probably is quite surprising to many, but I remember the night after one of the WrestleManias. I can't remember which one it was, but it was the Raw after, and Alberto Del Rio had just defended his belt or whatever, and he was pretty banged up. And Dolph Ziggler was the Money in the Bank, and just hearing his "I'm here to show the world," and like the way the audience reacted to that, because obviously everybody, he was over then. He's not now, and he hasn't been for a while.
I think
but
it's easy to forget how over he was at one point.
yeah, he was incredibly over, and when that song hit, and like the way the fans reacted and stuff as well, like my God, that was a mark out moment, because you were just like, holy shit, Dolph's gonna win the belt. And yeah, it was just, I don't like, I've always kind of liked the theme, but for me in that moment, that was him. He'd arrived. It was the main event, and it was, I'm here to show the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I thought it was awesome.
I'm curious, Carl, because I lose track with these things. Was that when he changed his theme music to "I'm Here to Show the World"? Because if you remember, his theme music used to start, "I am perfection." So I'm just curious, is that the point that it changed?
I'm not sure if it was that night, but I think
It was
obviously I
sort
don't
of
think he'd
around
had
then
it for
because he went into
long.
a face run, like.
Yeah. I don't even know what it is now. What his theme song is now.
I think it's still that, isn't it? "Here to Show the World."
Is it? I don't know. I feel like it's like a more depressing version or something, because he's a bad guy now.
I think they've cut it a little bit so it doesn't start "Here to Show the World." I think it actually literally starts "Bring It On," and then goes into that same sort of. I think it was pretty much the chorus from that song, but just slightly edited version, I
Right.
suppose. It's still roughly the same theme he's had for a while, but like you say, I think because he's a heel again at the moment, I don't think it actually says "Here to Show the World" initially. While we're talking honorable mentions, though, Carl, I think it's only right, because I've just thought of it now, to mention the New Day. And the reason I think that's only right to mention it is because right now we're oversaturated with the New Day, Carl, and you might not think much of their theme music, but I want you to picture a world where your son's 15, right? You're sat down watching wrestling with him because, it's a nice moment for both of you, nostalgia for you, and he loves wrestling, naturally, because we're going to make him, right? And he's into his current fans, Dolph Ziggler Jr. and stuff like that. And then you hear, "Oh, people at home," you're going to mark out. And I know you're going to mark out. And I think it deserves a mention, because I think that is iconic and memorable for the New Day. And I think when the New Day excel to the point that they become legends in the business and they make a return as old men, and you're looking at like a group of legends, I think that theme music is going to be sort of resonating with you at that point. And I think that's when you're probably going to realize, that's when we will both be like, yeah, let's mark out to that, because that's fucking awesome. And you can't deny it's unique, it's iconic, and memorable to the New Day.
Yeah, fair, very, very fair point. You've heard it here first, folks. New Day in what is it, 13, 12 years time.
In 12 years' time.
We're going to be marking out to the New Day, and they will be on this list, and we'll still be doing this.
Yeah.
Version
In
4
fact,
of.
I might have, yeah, I might have not amplified that, because it's very realistic that they could still be knocking about it in that time as well. I hope they'll have retired and come back at some point before then, because then otherwise, how do you do a return if they haven't fucking left yet?
Yeah, it's a very good point.
But I think, at the risk of listing way too many, because there's tons we could list.
Oh yeah.
I think they're probably the most memorable, the most iconic. I don't think anyone can deny that. So I think we'll call the segment at that. We might revisit this sort of thing. I'd love to. I need to find someone who can actually play music, because I'd love to play Name the Theme with you, Carl. I think that would be good fun.
Okay.
But to avoid copyright, I'd love to get someone in to just play it on the guitar, and we have to guess what it is. That's I thought.
I think you should dust off yours.
Do you know what? That might make the game even fucking harder. I'll try it. You know what? I'll get some practice in, and I'll try and play them myself, because that sounds like it might be a lot of fun. Because just the fact that I can't play properly anyway would make it so much harder.
That would be awesome. You should definitely do it.
You heard it here, folks. Give me like a month or so, but yeah, we'll do that. Carl gets us 10 tracks.
This week's episode is brought to you by Floriday.co.uk, where you can get all the latest news about Florida, Disney, and Universal Studios, as well as valuable tips and touring plans to get the most out of your Florida holiday. That's Floriday.co.uk, the sunshine state of mind.
Well, hello, Carl and Anthony. Hey, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley saying hello. What a beautiful afternoon it is. Wow, gorgeous May afternoon. There's a view of the river at the Foley compound. Just want to say hello to you guys and let you know that I'm looking forward to listening to you on A to the K, the podcast. I am not yet exposed to much in the world of podcasting, but I think I'm going to start. I hear great things about you guys. I appreciate you being fans. I'm going to go out on a limb and just guess that you guys are big wrestling fans. So I'm going to thank you for your support over the years. Have a nice day.